Drums. My first musical instrument was drums. Well, I started playing the drums, I was about 10 years old. And actually, prior to that, I started playing, but I got my first drum set at the age of 10. It was a Sears Roebuck Special, Blue Sparkle. And I remember my sisters, I have three older sisters, and I remember them having a problem trying to figure out how to put them together. I learned this after the fact because I got it for Christmas, and they were kind of put together in some type of hodgepodge way. Anyway, so I started playing the drums actually in the 4th grade. I had a school band at my elementary school. So I started to learn, that was my first introduction to an organized musical situation where I learned basic snare drum and kind of elementary level concert band material. So around the age of 10, I started to kind of pull together some formal training and whatever natural inclinations I'd had up to that point. Well, in those days, you know, elementary and junior high days, I didn't really have any mentors in my neighborhood or that I personally knew. I was basically, you know, aside from what I was doing in school with the concert band and marching band material, simply copying what I heard on records. And so those records would be the R&B hits of the day, whatever was happening on the Motown recordings or the James Brown and soul music recordings, or what I heard on gospel music. That's the music I heard around my house. I didn't hear any jazz. So I can't say that I had any, and I didn't have any formal teaching on drum set. Just the school music teacher who taught all the instruments and gave me a little direction on what to do on the snare drum or the percussion parts, elementary school parts. So I didn't really have a teacher. I didn't have a drum lesson until I was in college, actually. I went to Arizona State University in Tempe, Arizona. I was a broadcast journalism major, and I actually did not foresee myself pursuing music as a career at that point. It was just something I did that I enjoyed. I loved, you know, playing the drums, and I had done it from the time I was 10 years old, but that wasn't my chosen career path at the time, so I thought.
What happened?
Well, a number of things. You know, I played in the bands all through junior high and high school, learned how to read music, became pretty proficient at that, and when I went to Arizona State, I took electives in the music department. So they had a jazz program there. And actually, going back a little bit, in high school, we had what was called a stage band in those days. They didn't really call them jazz bands then. So we would play kind of a mixture of jazzy things, you know, maybe something by Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and the kind of more rock-oriented things. But then we got a band director when I was in high school who was more jazz-oriented, and his name was Dan Strawbridge. And he was kind of the first person who brought in recordings of real jazz music. And even in those days, even though he brought those recordings in and played examples and was helpful in getting me to understand the feeling, I still didn't know anything about the great players or the history of the music or anything like that early on. So he was helpful because I was able to play in an ensemble in high school that had really good musicians in it. I basically knew the jazz ride cymbal pattern and sound, and from there I just went on instinct. I had, from playing R&B and soul music, I had good time and good feel, but I was really just going on instinct. I didn't have the recordings to draw from, you know, listening to, for example, the great recordings of Miles Davis, or none of that. I didn't know any of that yet. at that time. So I'm somewhat of a latecomer to the real essence of the music and the great players and the lineage and the timeline. You know, the you know, for example, Baby Dodds or Joe Jones or any of those people. I knew nothing about that. As a matter of fact, my freshman year of college, if you had asked me to tell you about Art Blakey and Max Roach and Philly Joe Jones, I would not have been able to tell you about them. That's pretty late, actually. But the music drew me in, and during that freshman year of college, I met some upperclassmen who knew more about the music and helped me to understand, you know, who I should start researching and the types of things I should be listening to, and I just dove in head first. And I would be spending nights with falling asleep with headphones on, listening to Charlie Parker and Dizzy and Max Roach and, you know, all the great drummers. And so I was playing catch up, so I knew I had a lot to get together quickly. I don't remember how much I got paid, but I remember it wasn't very much. But my first paid jazz gig, I mean, I had played dances before that when I was in high school. So playing music of like Earth, Wind and Fire and Commodores and soul groups like that. But my very first professional jazz gig was with a guitar player named Jerry Bird, who used to work with Freddie Cole. Some people might know him from that. He's originally from Pittsburgh. And it was at a bar in Phoenix called Maynard's. And it was, I think, it was one of those bars that had sawdust on the floor. And Maynard was actually a donkey. I think this guy had a pet donkey, and there was a picture of the donkey in the club. Anyway, so that was where I played my first professional paid jazz gig, that to my memory. And that would have been, let me see, maybe 1977, 76, 77, somewhere in there. Hi, I'm Lewis Nash, and for more interviews, go to jazztimes.com.